Commonsense Aria is an interactive photo agent for digital photography. Aria helps the user to manage and search through his or her digital photo collection and makes it easy for users to use photos to share stories via email and web pages. The Aria client integrates a user's photo shoebox in the right pane with an authoring space in the left pane. Each photo is annotated with a set of keywords, organized into semantically salient categories of the who, what, when, and where of a photo. Annotations can be either manually added to the photo by the user or automatically learned by Aria as photos are used in the context of a story. As the user composes a story, Aria proactively searches out photos in the shoebox relevant to the user's story context and presents them at the top of the shoebox. The retrieval process is enriched by Commonsense world knowledge gathered by the Open Mind Commonsense project at the MIT Media Lab. Commonsense also enriches textual understanding and allows the agent to semi-automatically annotate photos. We now walk through a scenario in which the user tells his friend Henry about a wedding. Now, in writing the email, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Henry's email address, and then I'm going to write in a subject, and I'll call it Ken and Mary's Wedding. And as I type, "Hi Henry," you'll notice that pictures of Henry pop up in the photo pane, and Aria is just trying to associate photos annotated with Henry with the story text, "Hi Henry." Last weekend, as I type last weekend, all the pictures from last weekend should appear toward the top. Unfortunately, this wedding occurred many, many weekends ago. I went to Ken and Mary's wedding in San Francisco. As I've typed this much, we see that pictures of Ken and Mary appear toward the top, primarily because I use the keywords Ken and Mary. However, we also see a photo near the top, which is annotated with bride, groom, and kiss, but the photo is not annotated with any explicit keywords found in the story text. Now, had Aria been purely keyword-oriented, it would have missed this photo. Only because it had common sense was it able to ask Open Mind about weddings and find out that bride and groom were related to weddings. As I choose a photo in the photo collection to include into the story, I can simply drag the photo into the text pane and let go, and it automatically gets incorporated into the story, as well as receiving some automatic annotations. We see here that in the context of the story that we were telling, it made a guess that Mary and Ken were people at the wedding, and the photo in particular, and that San Francisco, Ken and Mary's wedding, and wedding described the place of where this photo might have taken place. By double-clicking on the photo, we're brought to a keywords editor dialog, and in this dialog we can see the keywords organized under who, what, and where, and we can either add new keywords or remove existing keywords. We also see a section for common sense keywords. This section shows keywords that Open Mind added to the photo because weddings and San Francisco had some very commonsensical associations that could be made about them, and those are shown in this section. So, because the wedding took place in San Francisco, the system made a guess that it was in California and the United States, and that San Francisco Bay and the Golden Gate Bridge might be featured in the photo. And because the photo is of a wedding, it made a guess that concepts like love, happy, social gathering, church, marriage, gazebo, bridesmaid, best man, and flower girl were also relevant to the photo. Now we continue with our scenario. There was a great view of the Golden Gate Bridge. So as I drag in the photo of the Golden Gate Bridge, it picks up the annotation Golden Gate Bridge. Note, however, that it picks up entire concepts, namely the entire concept of the Golden Gate Bridge, rather than individual keywords. And it also correctly classified Golden Gate Bridge as a place, classified under the heading Where. The ceremony was magical and love was in the air. Note, interestingly, that as I typed love was in the air, the photos of the wedding and of kissing appeared toward the top. Aria is exercising, again, some common sense knowledge in connecting love to weddings. As I drag in a photo of the ceremony, you can see that that photo got annotated with the keyword ceremony, and it correctly classified it under the heading Where. After the couple exchanged their vows, now just to point out that couple brought up pictures of the bride and the groom and of the wedding of Ken and Mary because Aria is using common sense to associate bride and groom with the couple. After the couple exchanged their vows, everyone headed for the reception. Typing this sentence brings up a photo which happens to be of the reception. Now, what's interesting here is that this photo is brought up, and yet none of its keywords match explicit keywords given in the story. In fact, there's no mention even of a wedding. So the question sort of comes up, how did the system arrive at that picture? And what the system actually did was, so we know the system has social common sense about situations, knowing that brides and grooms are at weddings, but in this case, it used temporal common sense about there being a wedding reception after a wedding ceremony. And because previously we had annotated a photo with the word wedding, and knowing the timestamp differences of the two photos, Aria decided to implicitly annotate this photo of the reception with reception because it occurred several hours after the picture annotated with the wedding. Now, if we drag this photo in, you see that now it does formally pick up the annotation reception. Now, if we wish to send this email, we simply click Send Message, and all the photos get automatically included. Or we can also choose to post a web page. So I'm going to click on this button, and you can see that it's copied a URL to my web browser. And by simply opening a web browser and pointing it to the URL, we are pointed to the web page created by Aria. So that concludes the demonstration of Commonsense Aria.